We exist in a mad, bad and crazy world, and to demonstrate that, I have a few clips for you here today which just really put a point in the map. But it is important to understand and take a snapshot of how the working people of this country genuinely feel about what's happening to their country. Politicians generally don't understand how people feel. It's very difficult for politicians to understand it. They are removed, first of all, from public life. They also are told, in no uncertain terms, that they have to take advice from their advisors. They exist in a very, very strange world, because when people are watching politicians talk, they believe that the politician is just giving their opinion. It's pretty far from the truth. They are constrained by not only the party line, by the people supporting them in the party, but by their own advisors, and also they're constantly treading or trying to avoid treading on landmines with the media, who are trying continually to play gotcha. Now, the media are part of the problem, and I have covered that in a previous video, but just to take a little snapshot here and just to kind of put a twist on the end of it, here's Kemi Badenoch trying to tell you what she feels is the solution to the current migration problem.
We also got close to France. I remember Rishi Sunak having that big summit. This is not just about us having good relations with France. We need a third country deterrent. That's what the Rwanda plan was. Keir Starmer scrapped it. Now he's got no plan. He says he's smashing the gangs. Now arrivals are much higher than they were this time last year. The problem is getting worse, and he needs to get a grip on this.
Now, I do like Kemi Badenoch. I think, as a politician goes, she's one of the better politicians out there. You kind of get the feeling that she wants to tell you how she's feeling all the time, but again, she is constrained by what she's permitted to do. However, she's very bright, she's articulate, and she's certainly what I would call a conservative. You couldn't argue against that. She is on the right-hand side of politics, so she gets my tick in terms of that. However, the problem with Kemi Badenoch is she precisely doesn't tell us how she feels on certain issues, and what she's trying to do on, I would say, the biggest issue in politics is migration. You know, people can talk about the economy, and there's an old line that says it's the economy stupid, and money does matter to people. But as we're discovering with the Tories for previous 14 years and with Labour, does it really matter who's looking after it? The economy just keeps going down and down. It's reaching the point where people kind of say, well, it doesn't really matter who comes in. It's going to be rubbish anyway. So it's not the economy. It's culture. People are worried about the place they live in. It's pointless having money if the place that you're going to live in is completely rubbish. And people are extremely annoyed about immigration. They are really, really worried about it. And the politicians, whilst they think it's a good talking point to come out in public and talk about this, they still do not understand. Kemi Badenoch here, as much as I do like Kemi Badenoch, as I said, she's not grasping the nettle here. It's not about third party or third country deterrence or saying, oh, well, if you come here, you might have to end up in a flat in Rwanda. No, that's not it. What we need to do, we need to leave the ECHR, and we need to make it clear, if you come here illegally, there's no money for you, and you're going to be deported, and you'll never ever be given citizenship to the UK. Further to that, if you've already arrived here and you commit a serious offence, then you're gone too. It's not overly complicated, and that alone is going to win the next election. There's no difference between any of these parties in terms of the economy. They all just try their best to muddle through playing with tax systems. What matters is culture, and Kemi does not understand or is unwilling to take that step, because she has, and she's trying to keep on board, too many liberal Tories. And this is the problem with the Conservative Party. There is a massive part of the Tory party who are actually liberals in disguise, who are kind of centrists, kind of old-style Tories, but they don't want to really touch the topic of immigration. And that's the problem with Kemi. Now, what we're going to do is move on to the Labour Party. So, how do the Labour Party feel about what's actually going on? Well, this is a prominent person from Labour, and he's going to tell us all about what he thinks is going on.
We've seen countless false messiahs for the working man and the working woman down the ages, and Nigel Farage is just such another. Who has ever, apart arguably from the very, very wealthy, ever benefited from the politics that Nigel espouses? Yes, Reform's fantasy manifesto at the last election was a mishmash of all sorts of policies, some of which appeared to favour working people, for example, trying to take the lowest paid people out of income tax altogether. I think they were going to introduce a £22,000 threshold or some such, but it didn't add up. And as far as I know, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, Reform voted against Labour's workers' rights reform bill. So if you're listening and you are a working class, traditionally working class person, and you think that Nigel Farage is going to reform this country, lead you out of relative poverty and make your life better, I can tell you right now, 4 years before it might happen, and it might happen, it's not going to work.
Now, this gentleman here, Matthew Stadlin, he's part of the liberal elite class, and he believes in mass migration. And when he's talking on the TV, and he'd done quite a big have a go earlier this week when Douglas Murray had the temerity to say that the British media is completely out of date with the rest of the world on immigration and never a truer line was spoken, then this gentleman here, Matthew Stadlin, came out and kind of had a good go about how divisive this person was. And you see here how he's talking, Matthew, about how he thinks the British public feel about things. And yet again, they go to the economy. He thinks the working people of this country care about some workers' rights bill. They don't care about that stuff. They don't care about any of it. We care about our culture. And it's this here, the way that Labour and their devotees talk about what's happening in the country, they don't understand. And it's funny to me that none of these people seem to understand what's really going on. Now, the world, as I said, is a really funny place sometimes. And here I'm going to show you just the pickle that we've got ourselves in. So I'm going to play you a little clip from a gentleman called Conor McGregor. Now, you may, if you're a UFC fight fan, have seen Conor, and I've watched quite a few of Conor McGregor's fights. I think he was a very entertaining man, and he's full presence around the ring and everything else. And, you know, he is certainly a colourful character. But my question to you is this. When did an ex-sportsman, a fighter, a cage fighter, ever sound more sensible than our main party politicians? So you've had Kemi, you've had Labour there, and this is what Conor's just said on Tucker Carlson.
Even in a prison, let alone we can't house our people. We can't even have a bed for the prisoners. So straight away you're going in there. You came in, you committed a crime on our soil, you're gone. You know, that's it. No ifs, ands, or buts. Why is the taxpayer paying to keep prisoners from foreign countries in our prisons, and it's being overran? So, you know, that I would be up for that. And then I would be going to these IPAS centres. I would be going to the direct provision centres. How did you enter our country? Illegally? You're gone. Have you a criminal history? You're gone. Is there a genuine attempt to assimilate into the culture and achieve a job and give to the community and support the community? If so, yes, Cade Miller Fodger. If not, gone. And, you know, we can do that. And then also a turning off of the tap. You know, right now, as I said about the car situation, you know, they arrive, you get favour if you're from another nation.
So there you have it. In a 1-minute clip, I think Conor McGregor sums up a majority of the real working class people of this country who are sick and tired of getting up and going to work every day to pay for a bunch of rubbish that our politicians can't seem to shake off. The British people are sick and tired of all of this stuff. You come to this country illegally, then you're going to be deported. That's all anybody wants. The economy, fine. Everyone likes to have money, but it's pointless having money if you've got no country left. And this is something they don't seem to understand. Anyway, thanks very much for your time.